In a rainy night, a girl was lying on the ground with severe injuries from a carriage accident that fell of a mountain road. She can feel death creeping at her doorstep, but she's not surprised by this, because the feeling of death is not her first time experiencing. It was the wedding day of the female lead when her old friend, Delia, interrupted her preparation saying that she's pregnant. This caught the female lead off guard as she wasn't expecting any of this. Delia said that the father of the baby and her are going to get married as soon as he sorts things out with his fiancé. The female lead suddenly felt anxiety took over her body. "We're best friends. So, will you be my bridesmaid?" she asked. The female felt as though she could sense what Delia would say next. "The person who will become my husband is also someone you know." The female lead took a guess that doesn't even have to be guessed since the answer is clear. "Is it Dieter?" she asked. Dieter was her fiancé. The fiancé was busy entertaining the guests to their wedding when suddenly, the bride marched in running in her wedding dress. She called for him while the maids were trying to stop her. She reached her hand out to him to clarify one thing that has been bothering her mind. When she saw the look on her fiancé's face and his reaction as if not wanting to be touched by her, her clarifications were instantly met. "So it's true. You did have an affair with Delia," she said to him. She ran after saying this to him. Dieter tried explaining that what happened between him and Delia was a mistake while yelling her name trying to catch up to her. Lee, the main character, ran crying thinking, "How could I be so naive?" She truly believed that her fiancé and best friend would never betray her. But maybe that was just her gaslighting herself. As she was running, a mysterious man suddenly pushed her, causing her to slip and fall down the stairs. That was her first death. A maid was waking up a girl sleeping soundly, and it appears that it was the main character, Lee. When Lee woke up, she thought that maybe God was on her side for giving her a second chance at life. But that was only the beginning of her suffering. After her first reincarnation, she kept on dying and the cycle of endless death and regression never ceased to stop. Each time she was reincarnated, there was always a different reason for her death, but she would always be brought back to the same day. Life and death repeated countless of times in front of her, until she finally decided that she wanted to live and escape this hellhole. On one of her regression during the brink of death, a man approached her giving her hope that maybe this time she would finally escape death. In her head, she begged for the MN to help and not leave her to die, but the man told her that he will things easier for her by killing her. The last thing she heard from the mysterious man was, "Only your death can fulfill my wish." In her fading consciousness, she made a goal that if another morning dawns, she would do anything to find the mysterious man. She realized that her death wasn't accidental, but rather, it was planned. Finally, she knew what she must do in this endless and repetitive life. She promised to take revenge on the mysterious man who badly wants her death. During her regression there are specific rules at the beginning and end of regression. The beginning is always the morning before, 3 months before her wedding, and the end is always her death. Which means, the mysterious man never failed to kill her every regression. But what is his motive? As far as Lee knows, there's no one that has that much resentment against her. Who could the person be? And what would he get out of it? Lee wondered. There's only one way to break this hellish cycle. I have to kill him before he kills me, Lee said to herself. The next day, the family doctor of Lee, Pesser, famous for his skills, knowledge and warm heart, came to check up on Lee. Lee asked her maid to leave the two of them alone, leaving her maid wondering if she has developed some kind of illness, since she always asks her maid to accompany her when she's getting examined. Terminal illness, Pesser shouted in shock. The doctor seems confused by the request of his lady. Lee told him that he must spread a rumor about her being diagnosed with a terminal illness and will die very soon. Pesser was confused by the unusual request of Lee and asked her why would Lee want to spread such rumor about herself. Don't overthink it, doctor, she told him calmly while also telling him that she knew something about him selling painkillers illegally, but she won't report him if he does as she requested. Lee knew that he didn't have any bad intentions about the illegal stuff he's doing, he's merely doing that to help the poor pay for medical treatment. She felt guilty threatening an innocent man, but she has no other options to escape her death. So, you want to fake your death? Pesser asked. Yes, I plan to disappear from this empire completely, Lee said, promising herself that this time, she won't just sit back and do nothing. Disgusting, Lee thought as she was watching Delia crying in front of her while being comforted by Dieter after finding out that she only has 6 months to live. She knew that behind Delia's crying, was her laughing and enjoying the news of her about to die. Dieter told Lee that he won't break off the engagement just because she's sick. I am forever yours, and you're forever mine, Dieter said to leave a good impression until the end. But Lee knows that he's only doing that so people won't be pointing fingers at him and he can marry Delia without any issues. Suddenly, Delia cut through their conversation saying that she hates the head of the Violentis family for not visiting Lee after knowing that she's sick even though they're from the same guardian family. She also pointed out that he might not attend her memorial service. Lee knows exactly what she's doing. She's trying to point out that Lee was indeed dying. Violentis is one of the guardian families of the Rebater Empire. Nerial, where Lee belongs, and Violentis in the north. In the beginning, the man who God called founder of the Rebater Empire, and appointed 4 guardians to protect the country. The 4 families blessed by the gods for generations have inherited the bloodline of the guardians and are recognized as having a noble status equal to the imperial family. Among them is Duke Violentis, who the emperor favors for guarding the north where the demons roam, and was always the subject of Dieter's jealousy. Anyway, I wanted to meet you both to ask a question, Lee said to Dieter and Delia. The two of you have been seeing each other for quite some time now, right? Lee asked, catching both of them off guard. Wait, did you use that ability to read our memories? Dieter asked with a sense of uneasiness. Yes, Lee responded, the ability that Lee was trying so hard to hide, and now perhaps, an ability that could become her weapon, is that she could read other people's memories with her hands. I saw it all, she said to them calmly while holding her hand. Lee, you understand me, right? Dieter said in one of Lee's memories of them together. Dieter told her that even if they were lovers, there is no need to know everything of each other. If you had read my memories, I wouldn't be able to surprise you like this. Dieter said while holding a box with ring and kneeling down. The look of surprise and love was still present in Lee's face until she snapped out of that fantasy. Dieter tried to blame Lee that maybe she was just delusional, since they haven't had a physical contact with each other, and told her how could she accuse them like this. Lee already expected Dieter try to cover up the situation. But she also knew Delia was planning the exact opposite, as this was her chance to steal Dieter from Lee. Why, you're right. Dieter and I have been in love with each other for a long time. Dieter was caught off guard from Delia's confession. Despite Dieter's protests, Delia continued and said, Lee, you're going to die anyway, with an expression free of guilt. Dieter tried to stop her from saying anything any further, but Lee just responded, you're right, let's break off the engagement, Dieter. The surprised look was plastered on their faces. I don't care what you say to other people about our relationship, so let's just end it here. She gave them a last glance while saying this and left with a straight face. Dieter couldn't believe this, and was enraged that Lee was dumping him. But what enraged him more, was the straight look on Lee's face. After the discussion with Lee, Delia came running telling him that it's actually a good thing if they wanted to get married. You should know your place, Dieter said, leaving Delia confused. What did you say? Delia asked. Dieter looked at her and smiled, saying, no, it's nothing. On the other hand, Lee's plan was going well. Rumors began to spread that she was on the brink of death every day. But her daily life didn't change. Her ex-fiancé and friend didn't bother sending her a letter, and the nobles only sent her gifts to save face. The good thing was that the murderer didn't show any reaction, probably because of the rumor that she was going to die anyway. Until her maid came running to her room without knocking to inform her of something urgent. Lee's father, Lord Nerial, the head of the family, has returned. Despite the rumors that she was terminally ill, she never thought that her father would return to the mansion. You seem very thin, her father said. Lee was hesitant to question her father, since, when have you been so worried about me? The reason why Lee wasn't expecting her father's visit, is because he doesn't exist to her anymore. Lee's father, Lord Nerial, a cold-blooded man who considers her abilities a curse right after her mother's death. Even though they lived in the same house, her father didn't even want to eat with her. On the days they ran into each other, her father would stay in his room all day to avoid her. As time passed, Lee's father hired a nanny and a tutor so she wouldn't have to leave their mansion, while her father was preparing to leave. "You must never leave this house and reveal yourself to anyone." That was the last time Lee remembered seeing her father. "If the reason why you came back was because of the rumors, I'll take care of arranging the memorial service, so don't worry," Lee said to her father. "Lee," her father mumbled. "I know you don't care whether I die or not," Lee shouted. "Out of all those deaths, not even once you were here to protect me." Lee mumbled with sadness and anger in her voice. "What do you mean?" her father questioned. "Until now, my father has never visited me out of all the regression," she thought to herself. "This is the first variation of death Lee has ever experienced." "I'll get you another doctor," her father said. Lord Nerial plans to stay at their mansion for the time being to make sure that the doctor didn't misdiagnose it. Lee had no choice but to allow it, if it would ease her father's burden. Lee decided to leave before her father hired another doctor. She must leave before the doctor finds out about Pesser's lies about her illness. If not now, she will be trapped in their mansion again. Pesser waited for her outside the mansion with a horse and asked her that if she wanted to leave now, she may never be able to return. But Lee responded that she has no intention of ever coming back and told him that he is too kind for her. Pesser added that she is the only person who would say something like that after having her weakness taken advantage of. "Please take care of the rest," Lee requested. Pesser said his goodbyes while trying to hold back his tears and wished his lady a safe journey. Lee left her father a letter saying that she has no more purpose of living and will be ending her life a bit sooner than expected, and this will be her last wish that she will ask of him. "So, please set me free, father." Her father stared at her letter. A week later, her funeral was held grandly at the Empire and the cause of death was announced as illness instead of suicide, since it will have a huge blow on her father's reputation to announce that the sole heir of Nerial had taken her own life. The main character of the banquet, Lee, the supposed to be dead, was present in her own funeral. Even though it was risky, like Pesser has advised her, she needs to know what happens after her death. And maybe get a clue about the murderer among the people who attended her memorial. But so far, there has been no progress at all. Everyone has no clue, let alone memories of her. She started questioning herself if this banquet was really held to commemorate her. Until someone bumped her shoulder. The man was a northerner, but why was a northerner here at her funeral? The news of her death probably hasn't reached the north yet. It just doesn't make sense. Lee approached the blonde man and offered him flowers to give to the deceased, but he refused this offer, causing Lee to insist and touched his hand to see his memories. In his memories, Lee saw another man asking him if there's an update about a certain matter, which the blonde man responded with, "Do you mean, about that lady you had asked me to look into?" The other man smirked and replied, "Yes. So, is Lady Nerial?" Before the man could finish talking, the memories disappeared after losing contact with the blonde man. The man apologized and left, leaving Lee shocked. Then, a scream echoed, catching her attention. "Oh, over there. Gee, there's a person covered in blood," a woman exclaimed. The man stood tall with a cloak covered in blood. "It's him," Lee muttered. "Guardian of the North, Laches Violentus. The man who never showed his face even at the Emperor's coronation ceremony, came to my memorial banquet to commemorate my death," Lee thought. But what confused Lee is, why is he checking whether she's alive or not?